Alright folks, it is Matthew. We are back. I am back on my tablet after going through one of the cases in the World Edition in Elite mode. So, let's start this one. Thanks to Paulo, Roberto, Alexandros, and Ali. Let's start case 25. What is this titled? The Killer in the Rice. Okay. Matthew, I still can't believe Warren Goodfellow was working for Sombra all along. How does Sombra do it, Matthew? How come we never see them coming until the very end? The details of Warren Goodfellow's involvement with Sombra remain sketchy, but the letter Matthew found has led us here to Yunnan. That's another thing I don't understand, Chief. Yunnan is a remote agricultural province of China. What could Sombra possibly want here? That's what we need to find out. All we know is that Warren met his contact, this so-called headhunter, here. Make no mistake, Matthew, Sombra's already a step ahead of us again. Smoking them out of their Chinese hideout is our first task. I'm sending you on a reconnaissance mission. First start with the rice fields. I'm counting on you to come back with fresh leads, Ranger Matthew. First I gotta do something real quick. Okay. Thing decided to cooperate. So let's get started. Oh no. Faded postcard. There we are. Farmer's basket. I am still sticking with the Dalmatian here for the time being. So bear with me, folks. Matthew, that boy's dead. Someone slashed his throat. I know we're here because of Sombra, so finding a dead body doesn't surprise me. But a dead teenager? Is Sombra killing rice farmers now? Or is this murder just a local tragedy that will throw us off Sombra's trail again? I don't know what to think, Matthew. You're right. Let's get back to basics. Any good clues at the crime scene? That rice farmer's basket won't take long to search through, and if we're lucky, those torn pieces are something that belonged to the victim. That postcard must have been the victim's. It was right next to the body. But it looks old. The writing's almost faded. Hey, well spotted. The postcard's addressed to one Guo Han. At least now we know our victim's name. Let's recover the writing. It'll tell us more about him. Alright, so sit tight, folks. I'm gonna get some stars. Alright, I got myself a bunch of stars. So I'm gonna examine the torn pieces first. Energy. Matthew, those torn pieces you found near the victim were the shreds of a bamboo hat. Rice farmers wear hats like this, Matthew, which means it could be our victims. We'd better send it to Lars. 3 hours. Farmer's basket now. another 9 energy coming my way. I wonder how that walking stick ended up in that basket, Matthew. Do you think it has something to do with the Hey, are you talking about my cane? Give it back! Eek! What the... Who are you? My name is Sen. The villagers call me Blind Sen. I live in the woods. I want my cane back. Well, Mr. Sen, considering your cane was at our crime scene, Ranger Matthew will need to have a word with you. How has Kane ended up on the crime scene? So your name is Mr. Sen, and you live around here. What were you doing in the rice fields? I was looking for my cane, Ranger Matthew. Thank you. I knew my cane would be here. I'm blind, but I have a sixth sense for these things. A sixth sense? Mr. Sen, we're investigating the death of a local boy. Did you know Guo Han? Guo Han? Something macabre happened to him. The shadows took him. That's one way to put it. Guo Han was murdered. I take it you didn't notice anything suspicious around the rice fields, Mr. Sen? The shadows will descend upon the village, Ranger Matthew. Only you can stop it. Matthew, I think we're done here. Be careful on your way home, Mr. Sen. Postcard message. Oh. Matthew, the text on the victim's postcard says, "Be a good boy. We'll never forget you, Mom and Dad." I agree, Matthew. This message sounds like a farewell. You think that's why the boy kept the card? You're right. Since you also revealed the address on the postcard, we can go to the victim's house. Let's go. Really, I have no idea why my computer is doing this. But I need to fix this. Oh, it seems to have gotten back to its normal self. Old picture. Puzzle box. So according to the address on the victim's postcard, this is where he lived. I hope we won't be mistaken for burglars, Matthew. Quick, what did you find? An intricately carved wooden box? You're right, it's just a place to hide a secret, but you'll have to work out how to open it first. And that framed picture is a great find. That boy looks like our victim, only younger. There's a woman with the victim in the picture too. You're right, we should run her face in the database. Sit tight, folks. I'm gonna have to reboot this thing. Alright, I think I got things squared away. Let's examine the puzzle box. Seven, 9. 3, 4, 6. Matthew, I didn't know you were so skilled at Chinese puzzle boxes. What did you find in it? A bracelet? You're right, there's the victim's name on it. And there's another word written on the bracelet too. May. That could be anything. A person, place, an organization? Or it could be Hawaiian for May. That's how it's written. You're right, Elliot will know where to look for an answer. Let's give the bracelet to him. Nine hours. And let's examine the old picture. Anti-Hua. Matthew, the database turned up a hit for the woman in the picture you found in the victim's house. It's the victim's aunt. We don't know anything about the victim's family yet. I agree, we should talk to Auntie Hua. Excuse me. Excuse me. About the victim's family? Dead, you say? My poor boy. As if this family hadn't suffered enough already. We're very sorry to bring bad news, but we need you to tell us about Han's life. Where are his parents? Ranger Matthew, Han's parents moved to Beijing when Han was only a baby. Many adults move away, as there is no work here in the village. They left the baby with me, and I've raised him the best I could. Poor boy, all he had from his parents is an old postcard. Han was such a good boy, Ranger Matthew. I don't know who'd have wanted to hurt him. At least his parents will never know they lost their child, Ranger Matthew, but my heart is broken. Matthew, Han's childhood is sadly common in rural China. Many adults leave to find work in cities. Can you imagine how these children grow up without parents? I agree, Matthew. If life was hard before, at least kids didn't die murdered in a rice field. We must find out what's going on. I might speed up the autopsy tomorrow morning, but we'll see what happens. So for now, this is Matthew. See you then.
This is my ancestor. I didn't know about.
Alright folks, we're back. Let's get the results of the autopsy and everything else. Hi Matthew, give me a minute. April fell asleep on my shoulders while I was cleaning my instruments. Take your time, Angela. There, much better. My daughters are under my feet all day asking questions. Show me how the bone saw works, Mommy. Can I try those dissection scissors, Mommy? I see they're ready to follow in their mother's footsteps. I'm glad Lars and I decided to bring our kids here to spend more time with them after Lars nearly died in Bangalore. But I'm also anxious about their safety. And now your new case, Matthew. This dead boy. It makes me especially worried. This boy, as you suspected, bled to death after an injury that severed his carotid arteries. The murder weapon is probably a sharp blade. Since you found the victim in a rice field, I'd keep an eye out for farming tools. Anything else to identify this killer? Who would slash the throat of a boy in a rice field? The only clue on the body was faint traces of alcohol on the skin. It came from external contact, since there was no alcohol in the bloodstream. I analyzed a small sample, and the alcohol is the product of fermented rice grains. Consistent with a popular liquor made locally from rice. It's called Baijiu. So the killer drinks rice liquor? I guess slashing children's throats would drive anyone to drink, Matthew.
Why would he kill somebody he cared about? It all makes sense, right? Is that why you killed him?
Richard Sutton is still unconscious. He's in cardiac intensive care.
Lives alone on the Upper East Side. Neighbors say he keeps pretty much to himself.
But what's he doing hanging around with the queen of the charity balls?
Well, he's a good-looking guy. Donna Brooks is a wealthy widow. Maybe he's her boyfriend.
So, this could be a domestic dispute?
Makes sense. There's no obvious signs of robbery or forced entry.
Donna and Richard have sex, they argue, he gets violent, he murders her, and then has a heart attack from all the excitement.
Or he finds her dead body, then has a heart.
Farmer's hat.
The victim's family.
Hello, Matthew. My little sister and I will present our findings about the bamboo hat you found in the rice field. June, please.
Distinctive. You find the ligature?
Here, Daddy. Thank you, sweetheart. So first, the DNA on the hair strands I found inside the hat confirmed that it belonged to Han, your victim. Also, the black light, Daddy. Tell Matthew about the black light. I was just coming to that. Matthew, I scanned the hat under black light, and it revealed a partial shoe print. Now, June, go and play with your sisters for a minute until I finish this with Matthew, alright? Matthew, it's great that the girls are now living with us full time, but I didn't want June to hear the violent details of how this boy died. You can probably guess the rest anyway. Since you found the hat torn at the crime scene, it's likely that there was a struggle between the killer and the victim, and the killer stepped on the hat in the tussle. The print is incomplete, so I couldn't determine the shoe size, but the pattern on the sole matched a kind of footwear that is very common in the village, rubber boots. So we're looking for a killer wearing rubber boots, Matthew. Let's go get on their trail then.
This is just so embarrassing.
So your mother was sexually active?
With all sorts of men.
She ever mention the name Richard Sutton?
No, I've never heard of him. But that doesn't mean anything.
Okay.
I told her to be more careful. Was it anyone special?
And the bracelet? Hello, Matthew. I've learned something cool from DuPont. The man's quite clever sometimes. Did you notice?
Can you tell me which one?
Yes. Monsieur DuPont holds several doctorates and he's fluent in 30 languages. You could say he's clever. What else did you discover today, Elliot? That's the Pope's Catholic? Is that the Pope's Catholic? Actually, never mind. Just tell us about the word on the bracelet Matthew found among Han's belongings. That's what I'm talking about, Matthew. The word May on the bracelet is a name, and DuPont told me that in China they put the surname before the given name, not after. So my name would be Clayton Elliott in China. Which was useful to know because it meant I had to slightly alter the algorithm I wrote to search for the name May in the population of approximately 45.7 million people in Yunnan. Long story short, Matthew, the person you want to talk to is Zhao Mei, a 15-year-old girl. A 15-year-old girl, They must have been close. If the victim had a friendship bracelet with their names. Matthew, I'm not looking forward to breaking the news to May, but it has to be done. Let's go.
You should try it. Older experience, they're less inhibited, and you don't have to worry about getting them knocked up.
Forgot to mention financially independent.
And let's tell her the bad news.
Had a lot of dough, asswipe.
May, we're sorry to bring bad news about your friend, but Ranger Matthew needs to ask you some questions about Han. Han's dead? I always told him he was too clumsy to survive, and I was right. Too clumsy to survive? What do you mean? I always had to look after Han when we played in the countryside, climbing trees, jumping over fences, finding wild mushrooms. I told him he had to be faster and stronger or he'll get hurt, and I was right. I'll miss Han, Ranger Matthew. Who's going to go on adventures with me now?
She was trying to pack a lot of living into the bit she had left.
She should have had better taste than that.
Matthew, we've only just gotten to Yunnan, and we're already in the thick of it. We know that Warren Goodfellow met the mysterious headhunter here in Yunnan, but so far no sign of Sombra. Instead, we found a teenager with his throat slashed in a rice field. The victim was raised by his aunt after his parents moved to Beijing. He grew up working on the rice farm and playing with other kids in the countryside while... Ranger Matthew, I've seen a terrible thing. You must come to the haunted dragon forest. What the... Mr. Sen? How could you have seen anything? You're blind. There's no time to explain. You must come with me at once.
He died in Korea. I have his medals.
Sorry, detectives, I got held up. Your message said you wanted to talk about Richard Sutton.
Not Richard. Marty. Marty. President Truman sent me a telegram.
And that will do for this first chapter. I'll see you guys for chapter 3. Or 2, excuse me. Alright folks, it is Matthew. We are back. Let's start chapter 2 of The Killer in the Rice. Matthew, we've only just got to Yan'an, and we're already in the thick of it.
Found your wife, Mr.
We know that Warren Goodfellow met the mysterious headhunter here in Yan'an, but so far no sign of Sombra.
I'm not surprised.
Instead, we found a teenager with his throat slashed in a rice field. Ranger Matthew, you must come to the haunted dragon forest. What the... Mr. Sen? What's the matter? A stranger is approaching the village. I've seen him. You've seen... Mr. Sen, I don't wish to be rude, but how can you have seen anything? There's no time, Ranger Matthew. Come with me to the haunted forest and you'll see for yourself. Alright, Mr. Sen. Ranger Matthew will handle it. Show us the way to the haunted forest.
So you have no idea when she was killed.
There. Can you see the stranger approaching, Ranger Matthew? Where? Over the bridge? Can you see anyone, Matthew? Greetings, fellow travelers. Are you lost? Whoa, I didn't even hear you. It's because of my rubber boots. They're made for walking around without making noise. But you needn't be afraid of me. I'm just a traveler from the mountains. My name is Ronan Ozawa. Well, we're the police, and we're investigating a murder. Ranger Matthew would like a word with you. It will be a pleasure to talk to you, Ranger Matthew. Great. Matthew, I'll keep an eye on Mr. Ozawa while you have a look around the forest.
6 degrees, which is 12 degrees below normal. That puts time of death at 10 p.m., 12 hours. The problem is, I didn't account for the freezing apartment or the fact she was exercising.
So how's that change calculation?
The exertion from working out depleted her adenosine triphosphate, causing rigor to occur faster.
So the exercise sped up the rigor and the cold caused that decline in body temperature, but what's it add up to now?
I was wrong about the time of death. Donna was killed early this morning, I'd say around 6 a.m.
We have to re-interview all the men. We didn't get alibis for this morning.
I've got something that might help. I didn't find fibers in the skin of your victim's neck, but the ligature's impression is unusual.
Does it match anything at the crime scene?
No. The killer took whatever he used with him.
Alright.
You know what it was?
Sorry, but the FBI has a database. I forwarded the image to their lab.
Wong works for the Bureau. Maybe he can...
Let's see here. What are we going to find?
Another weapon is a rope. A static current magnet. It's used in rock climbing. It's extremely strong.
That's why there are no fires.
Does VICAP have any indications where this kind of rope is used?
I already checked, and there's 15 matches.
Tell you what, let's narrow this
Bird feeder.
Victim is female, age
Chow Chow
60
dog.
to 80, strangulation homicide. Wow, 2 matches.
And the first one is Susan Zellman, age 65, killed 2 years ago in Brooklyn.
Matthew, handle that animal track carefully. It's already stained with blood. You don't want your hand stuck in it too while you collect a sample.
60.
And you're right, that bird feeder seems to have some faded drawings on it. Let's dust it to make out the pattern.
And now Nixie brings you behind the scenes of Law & Order SVU.
What are the joys and the perils of shooting here in the 5 boroughs?
It's great when like the car alarms are going off. I think one of the first outdoor scenes I had to shoot on SVU was literally a 5-alarm fire.
Let's get this thing out of the way.
It's a character on our show.
Law & Order SVU, weekdays on USA. Presented by Nixie 24 Hours.
Wow, that was easy. Matthew, you collected blood from the animal trap. Let's look at it under the microscope.
Attention Kmart shoppers. Make this Easter a real blockbuster.
You both have a perfect driving record.
Until one of you...
Examine the blood.
Then your rates go through the roof. Perfect.
For drivers with accident forgiveness, Liberty Mutual will raise your rates due to your first accident. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Two. There we are. Blind Sen? Uh-oh, this can't be right. Matthew, the blood you collected from the animal trap matches the DNA profile of Blind Sen. You know, I know he's blind, but Blind Sen seems to know his way in the wilderness pretty well. He even alerted us to the stranger's approach. But you're right, it's best to ask Blind Sen how he walked into this trap.
You can check on them.
About the animal trap? Mr. Sen, Ranger Matthews found an animal trap in the forest with your blood on it. Did you walk into it by accident? Those darn children, I'm telling you, Ranger Matthew, it's time they learn some respect. Of course, half of them are orphans. No one teaches them discipline. Excuse me. Wait, you mean that trap was set by children? Kids aren't like they used to be, Ranger Matthew. Their games got violent. Even the animals hide from them. The children hurt them just for laughs. Mr. Sen, forgive me for asking, but how can you be sure what the children are doing if you can't see them? I don't need eyes to know it was that little rascal Han who set up that trap. I heard him laugh from behind a tree. I had a little too much Baiju that night, but my hearing's still perfect, Ranger Matthew. Well, let's hope he didn't take revenge on Han by killing him, or you sure won't have to worry about walking into traps in prison.
Ask about Humira, the #1 prescribed biologic by dermatologists. Clear skin is possible. Introducing Nashville hot chicken tenders. I visited every mill in America, and Nashville had the best spicy chicken. KFC hot chicken.
There we are.
Spicy, smoky flavor of Nashville. Get it? Nowville at KFC.
Matthew, those drawings you uncovered on that bird feeder give me the creeps. You're right, the meaning of that stick figure with blood spurting from his neck is brutally obvious. It's exactly how our victim died. I agree, this must have been drawn by the killer. But the first symbol could be anything. It looks ominous, like a nail driven through a box. Alright, best send these drawings to DuPont.
Attention Kmart shoppers. Make this Easter a real blockbuster.
Rich, elderly women all
12 hours.
the same road. So we're gonna
So let's find out who Ronan Ozawa is. So why don't you start by telling us who you are and where you come from? I am a traveler from a foreign land, Ranger Matthew. I often pass through this village on my wanderings. I know most of the villagers. Whenever I come by, we sit down with a bottle of Baiju and talk. Most of them never leave this valley. I bring them news from the outside world. Well, the news here is that a teenage boy, Guo Han, was murdered. Do you know anything about that? Guo Han? Is that the boy from the rice farm? I regret to hear of his demise, but I've only just arrived from over the mountains. I don't know what happened to him. I'll stay in the village for a few days. Set for me if you need my help again, Ranger Matthew.
Stayed home, this wouldn't have happened.
Alright, I'll let the drawings run its course, so for now, this is Matthew. See you then. Alright folks, it is Matthew, we're back. Let's get the results of the drawings from DuPont. Are you familiar with the Chinese writing system, Matthew? If so, you'll certainly share my fascination with these drawings you found on this bird feeder. Well, we figured the stick figure and the sickle was a description of the murder. Matthew thinks the killer scribbled it down as some kind of confession. But we're stumped by the third symbol. Are you saying it's a Chinese character, Monsieur DuPont? It is indeed, but here's a twist. See that rectangular frame around the character? The symbol is also one of the tiles in the traditional game of Mahjong. As you know, Mahjong tiles are full of symbolism. This symbol, the red dragon, stands for success or achievement. I'm not sure I get it, Monsieur DuPont. Do you mean the killer made these drawings to say they successfully achieved the murder? Matthew, I won't pretend to understand the killer's intentions, but it's quite clear that they play Mahjong. Great, so now we have to find this Mahjong-playing killer, Matthew. I could use a walk to clear my head and think the silver. Great idea, let's visit the victim's home again. Learning more about Han's life will help us understand what happened to him. blizzard was a bit of a challenge. Matthew, I'm not thrilled to ransack a teenager's home, but we have no choice. We need to find out everything about Han's friends and interests. You found a slingshot? You're right. There's something carved into the wood. Let's reveal what it says. Restoring those torn pieces will no doubt give us a fresh clue, too. Let's get to work, Matthew. I'll do it right now. Cowards die. Uh-oh. Matthew, the slingshot you found in the victim's room had a message etched on it. It says, "Cowards die," and it's signed by May. You're right, Matthew. May was the victim's friend, but this message doesn't sound very friendly at all. Alright, let's find May and ask her what the story is behind this gift. About the slingshot she gave? May, Ranger Matthew found this slingshot in Han's room. Why did you call him a coward? I told you I liked Han, but he was weak. He spent hours in his room reading or crying for his absent parents. I gave Han dares so he could toughen up and prove himself. I dared him to set my rubber boots on fire and throw them from the bridge in the Dragon Forest, but he chickened out. Next, I dared him to steal Baiju from his auntie's kitchen, but Han refused to drink it. I drank the whole bottle myself. You drank a whole bottle of Baiju? You must have been pretty sick after that. That was the point. One must learn to endure pain and sickness. I was trying to teach Han to be stronger. You seem to take these games very seriously, May, but getting sick and setting things on fire don't sound like fun to me. Maybe we should have a word with your parents when we've wrapped up this case, May. Until then, stay out of trouble. Hold, folks. Alright, I think that's... book. Lord of the Flies. Matthew, those torn pieces you restored were the shreds of a book. It's The Lord of the Flies by William Golding. I didn't know it was popular even in China. Besides, The Lord of the Flies is a pretty dark story about teenage boys' adventures getting out of hand. It's an odd coincidence that Han was reading it just before he was murdered. Wait, there's a note attached to the book, too. It says, Han, you're clever enough to read this. Someone wanted Han to read this book. I agree, we must find out who gave this book to the victim, and why. Do they just love classic literature, or were they just trying to tell the victim something? Hopefully Marina can read between the lines of this message and tell us who wrote it. Okay, I'll get it. Okay, it's 12 hours long. I'll get it during my 10 o'clock news. So I'll tell you that. So I'll get all the stars by then. So for now, this is Matthew. See you then. Alright folks, it is Matthew. We are back. Let's get the results of the book from Marina. Hello Matthew, this book you found among the victim's belongings has some uncanny parallels with the murder you're investigating. Well, it's been a while since I've read it, but the story's about some schoolboy adventures ending in bloodshed, right? Just like our victims. Exactly, but what makes the book more interesting is the note. Han, you're clever enough to read this. The tone is both encouraging and challenging, with a hint of authority in it too. Furthermore, the handwriting reveals that the person is educated and intelligent and appreciates those qualities in others too. I'm sure you've already put 2 and 2 together, Matthew. The message was written by a teacher. A teacher? Well, it makes sense for a teacher to give a boy a classic novel to read, but still, Han's murder makes you wonder what this homework was really about. The good thing, Matthew, is that this is a small village, and the school has only one teacher, Miss Yang. Well then, let's have a chat with Miss Yang about this book, Matthew.
To more than $10,000 in 2014, while UH had the greatest increase in tuition.
About the book she gave to the victim?
In-state tuition, a recent study from the nonprofit.
Miss Yang, do all your pupils read The Lord of the Flies? Oh, of course not, Ranger Matthew. I'm sure you've noticed, but life around here isn't easy. Some of the children don't even go to school. They have to work on the rice fields. Han was one of the bright kids. I wanted him to have a better future, so I encouraged him to read more. You must have heard that Han was murdered, Miss Yang. Did you notice anything odd in Han's behavior at school? Anything that could help us? Han hadn't been to school for a while, Ranger Matthew. He said his auntie needed his help on the farm. Sadly, a lot of children drop out because of this. Sometimes I put on my rubber boots and go out to the rice fields to talk to the parents about their children's education. But it's a hard battle to fight. We understand, Miss Yang. Thank you, and please call us if you remember anything.
It's just after a while I started to notice pain in my back.
That's when he made his way back to shore.
When I got to an area where I could stand up, I tried to stand up.
Matthew, is it just me, or is there something unsettling going on with the children in this village? I mean, just look at the clues you found. First, that book about teenage boys turning feral. You've got to wonder if it was more than just homework. Now what about the bloody animal trap in the forest? Blind Sen complained that the children are playing violent games and scaring animals. And the way Mei talked about daring Han to get drunk on Bai Zhu is pretty alarming too. I can't help being concerned, Matthew. Meanwhile, there's no sign of Sombra or the mysterious headhunter who hired Warren Goodfellow. I wonder how they fit in the pic. Matthew, thank God you're here. You've got to help. You've got to find my little girl. Angela? What's going on? It's June. She's disappeared. Uh-oh. We'll have to find out where June is in Chapter 3. Alright folks, we're back. Let's start Chapter 3 of The Killer in the Rice. Matthew, is it just me, or is there something unsettling going on with the children in this village? I can't put my finger on it, but look at the clues. Lord of the Flies, the bloody animal trap in the forest, and the... Matthew, thank God you're here. You've got to help. You've got to find my little girl. Angela? What's going on? It's June. She disappeared. She's been spotted near the bridge in the forest with a child killer on the loose. I'm terrified she's been kidnapped or hurt or worse. June's in the forest? Get your coat, Matthew. Matthew, I can't see June anywhere. Where could she have gone? Matthew, June's only 6 years old. If we don't find her soon, I can't bear to think about it. We can't leave a stone unturned until we find June. Let's start the search around the cliff's edge. She isn't in this crime scene, unfortunately. Not like the first crime scene in Pacific Bay. Oh shoot. I always wonder what those things were called. Bindle. And let's see, ashes. That's clue number 3. Not my best score, but hey, just learning the ropes.
A great Friday night. So far here in Oahu, we've actually cleared on out. We had some heavy rainfall earlier, thunder, lightning, but things coming on down for us. Other spots, not so much.
Still no sign of June, Matthew? I don't like the look of that cliff. What if she fell? Hello, Matthew. Guess what? I saw a panda. June? Are you alright? You can't run off into the forest just like that, sweetheart. We're taking you back to the station. Hold on, Matthew. You're saying you picked up some clues while looking for June? I agree. That bindle someone left behind is definitely worth a quick search. And that flat stone was used like a fireplace. It's covered in ashes. You think it's worth a closer look, too? You're right. Fire is a good way to get rid of evidence. Let's vacuum up those ashes, then. Wait, you found a cell phone, too? In this remote village, I almost forgot that such things existed. Alright, see if you can unlock it. Matthew, you found June, but Han's killer's still on the loose. Time to get back on their trail. And I'm gonna get a few stars, so sit tight. Okay, folks, I got myself up to 20 stars. Let's examine the ashes. Got it. I think I got the 8. Matthew, you vacuumed up a sample of the ashes. It's up to Lars now to tell us what they hide. "9 hours. Oh, it looks like I might have the 15 hours after this. Okay, now let's get the bindle out of the way. Plum jam jar. Matthew, the stuff you found in that bindle looks like a kid hurriedly packed up their belongings. Clothes, games, some food. Wait, you're right. The label on that jam jar says Auntie Hua's homemade plum jam, which means the bindle belonged to Han. Hold on, you think Han had an argument with his auntie and ran away from home? Interesting that Auntie Hua never mentioned any of this. You're right, she has some explaining to do. About Han running away from home? Auntie Hua, Ranger Matthews found Han's belongings in a bindle in the forest, but you never mentioned he ran away from home. Ranger Matthew, I was too upset last time to tell you everything about Han, but here's the truth. Han had been acting strangely lately. First I thought he was just being childish. He would hide my rubber boots or cheat at mahjong. But then I discovered Han had stolen money from me. I couldn't let him get away with that. I didn't raise him to be a thief. So you confronted Han about the theft? How did he react? Han confessed. He said he only did it as a dare and regretted it instantly, but I was so angry I chased him out of the house, so he ran away. Ranger Matthew, I was harsh with Han and now he's dead. My poor boy, if only I had known, I'd never have let him go. Auntie Hua, it must be hard to live with regrets, and I don't want to be unkind, but I hope there's nothing else on your conscience, because living with murder is even harder. Well, she's in the running now. I hope it's not her. Okay, locked phone now.
Thank you so much, people. New tonight, 20 people rescued late this afternoon in
Yay. B2M. Oh no. XUL4. There we go. Matthew, I knew that cell phone was going to be significant. There's the victim's photo on the screen. And the caption under the picture says, Ronin, good candidate, watch him. Hey, that name rings a bell. You're right, the stranger we met in the forest said his name was Ronin Ozawa. This must be his phone. Ronin said he was just a rambler, but it's pretty obvious that he lied. He was watching Han. You're right, Matthew. Ronin said he'd stay in the village. Let's find him.
Those who tended the fields at the University of Hawaii's experimental station in Waimanalo were surprised at how fast the virus spread. Researcher Michael Metzler says the disease went through their fields of taro like a flu.
About his surveillance of the victim?
Is that these plants had never seen the virus before.
Ronin, it's time you told us who exactly you are and what you wanted from our victim. Have I offended you, Ranger Matthew? I sincerely apologize. I have business interests in the region, Ranger Matthew. The villagers can vouch for my integrity. As for young Han, I wanted to hire him as an apprentice. He deserves a chance to get out of this village and make a life for himself. Many of the local urchins dream of such an opportunity. And what made you choose Han as your apprentice? I chose him after playing Mahjong with the brightest youngsters. Mahjong's an excellent test of logic and strategy. Han and his friend Mei were both talented, but Han won. Too bad I hadn't taken Han away before his bad fortune had befallen him, but none of us can escape our fate, Ranger Matthew. Well, aren't you a smooth talker, Ronin? But rest assured, if you killed Han, you won't escape the prison sentence you deserve. Then puts two more in the hot seat. I'll let the burned ashes run its course. So for now, this is Matthew. See you then. Alright folks, we're back. Let's get the results of the burned ashes from Lars. Matthew, thanks for finding June. Angela was so distraught. You know, we encourage the girls to be curious and confident, but sometimes they go a little overboard. But I know you're here for your sample, Matthew. The ashes you found in the forest are the remains of burned paper. The chemical composition of paper is different depending on its purpose. Newsprint, cardboard, banknotes, hygiene tissues, etc. all have their distinctive chemical makeup. Based on the composition of these ashes, they're the remains of books, dozens of them. Someone burned a pile of books in the forest? That's a disturbing act of vandalism. But how does this fit in with Han's murder? We know Han was a bright boy who liked to read. Surely he had nothing to do with this? Well, I have an idea where to look for information, Matthew. Books are a scarce resource around here. The only place where you'd find them is the school. The school? Matthew's right. The school mistress is already on our suspect list. What if Miss Yang's the missing link between the burned books and the murder? We should talk to Miss Yang. And Lars, don't let the kids play outside until this is over, alright? What she knows about the burned books? Miss Yang, Ranger Matthews found out that some books from your school were destroyed. Do you know anything about this? The village kids did it, Ranger Matthew. All of them took part in this disgrace. Even the quiet, smart ones like Han. The kids made a bonfire of their books? And Han was in on it too? Miss Yang, if Han did something so out of character, why didn't you report it when we first asked you? You don't understand, Ranger Matthew. All of the kids are acting out of character. I don't know what's happening to them, but lately I fear for my own safety in the classroom. I didn't report it because there's nothing to be done. The children are all turning into uncivilized beasts. I'm not surprised Han ended up dead, Ranger Matthew. Without education, they'll all end up killing each other. Miss Yang, I share your concern, but I hope you didn't lose it and hurt Han, or your next lesson will be in the prison classroom. Matthew, I'm more and more certain that something strange is happening to the local children. Auntie Hua told us that Han had suddenly started to play pranks on her. He even stole money. His confession was further proof he wasn't being his usual self. And if the school teacher's testimony can be trusted, all the kids took part in burning books. Matthew, I'm not sure what to believe anymore. But worst of all, we still don't know who wanted to kill Han and why. Alright, Matthew, we should head back to the rice fields and rethink this case. God forbid more children perish because we've overlooked something. bloody sickle. There we are. Stained mahjong tile. Mouthy, that tiny square you found must be a mahjong tile. The symbol on it looks familiar. Isn't it the same one we saw painted on the bird feeder? This could be our lucky break, Matthew. The tile is stained with some substance. If we can collect a sample, we can finally be on to the killer. And that bloody sickle could be the murder weapon. We'll need a sample of that blood to be sure, but that won't stop us now, Matthew. Lucky me. Matthew, let's send that sample from the mahjong tile to Lars. Time to beat this killer at their own game. "15 hours. Last time both of them were 9 hours. I kind of thought this crime scene would be the same, but it's not. That's okay though. Not that I'm complaining at all. Matthew, let's send that blood sample from the sickle to Lars. With a bit of luck, he won't just confirm if the sickle's the murder weapon, but he'll get us closer to the killer, too. "9 hours. Alright, I will let these two run their courses, and for now, this is Matthew. See you then." Alright folks, it is Matthew. We are back, and we're now going to get the results of the red substance. Lars, what can you tell us about the blood Matthew found on the sickle? You're in luck, Matthew. The sample you collected contained 2 different blood types. One matched the victim's profile, which, together with some skin cells, confirmed that the sickle is your murder weapon. But I found a different blood type in the sample too, only a very tiny amount, so I doubt it originates from a visible injury caused by a sickle. But enough to identify the killer's blood type. It's A positive. Thanks, Lars. Make sure your kids stay indoors until this is over.
Repairing a 12-inch water main break in Aina this evening. About 1:45 this morning in front of the Aina shopping center. 15 customers lost water.
And I'll speed up the transparent substance. Matthew, the substance you found on the mahjong tile led me to a valuable discovery. Spill the beans then, Lars. Frankly, I fear for the other kids' safety if we don't act fast. Well, first, the substance contained traces of baijiu. So far, so good. We know the killer drinks baijiu. So the mahjong tile must be the killer's too. Go on, Lars. Well, the sample also contained a tiny fragment of DNA. And in the DNA, I identified 2 distinct sequences of nucleotides, which means the DNA comes from a person with 2 X chromosomes. In short, they're female. So the killer is a woman. Alright, Matthew, we'll make sure she's going straight to jail when we're done with her. Matthew, you collected all the evidence to arrest Hans' killer. Time for the truth to come to light. It's not blind sin. It's not Anti-Hua. It is not Ronan Ozawa. It is not Teacher Yang. Unfortunately, it is Zhao Mei. May, you are under arrest for Gohan's murder, but I don't understand why you did it. We thought he was your friend. I liked Han, Ranger Matthew. I didn't want to hurt him. But then, what happened? We know you pushed Han to take part in your pranks. Did one of your games go wrong? I gave Han opportunities to prove himself. I wanted Han to be stronger, so he'd survive. Survive? How was Han supposed to survive getting his throat slashed? Ranger Matthew found your blood on the murder weapon. Or were you too drunk on Baiju to remember? The weak die, Ranger Matthew. It's nature's way. The weak die? What on earth does that mean? You killed Han because he was weak? I killed him because the fate of the weak is to die at the hands of the strong, Ranger Matthew. May, I don't understand why you're acting like this. You just admitted killing Han, so why can't you tell us why you did it? I already told you, Ranger Matthew, Han wasn't strong enough. Han was your friend, May. You knew what you did was wrong, or you wouldn't have scribbled your confession on the bird feeder. I can't believe you don't have any feelings about this. Everything is futile, Ranger Matthew. The weak die. It's nature's way. Alright, May. I think you need help more than you need a prison sentence, but we can't help you if you refuse to engage with us. Our duty is to act on violence, and it clearly points to you. You're under arrest for Han's murder. Zhao Mei, you're charged with the murder of your friend, Guo Han. Ranger Matthew's report says you never explained why you killed him. Do you have anything to say now? I did what I had to do, Your Honor. Han was weak, and the weak perish in the competition for resources. The competition for... What nonsense is that? Your Honor, forgive me for interrupting, but the Bureau is concerned for May's welfare. She's only 15, and as you see, she's unable to give a coherent account of the events. Very well. The court orders May to be examined by a criminal psychologist. Until then, she'll be detained in a young offenders facility. All rise. Your Honor, I'm sorry, but everything is futile. The weak die. Matthew, I'm relieved you solved this murder, but it was a pretty disturbing case. Teenagers killing teenagers. Well, I must admit it's not what I expected when we came to China, but it's not the first time that chasing Sombra has taken us in unexpected directions. I just hope the children are safe for now that Matthew's closed the case. Angela's sick with worry for our own girls. I hope it wasn't a mistake to bring them here. Well, Matthew's right. There are still some unanswered questions about the killer's motives, and possibly about the children's lives in general. I'm afraid there's still work to do, Matthew. We better get ready for the debrief with Chief Ripley.
One of the many but more fast-moving breakouts on the flow field yesterday. This is northeast of Kilauea's East Rift Zone. Nanakuli Beach Park is no longer Nanakuli Beach Park. In a ceremony late this afternoon, the city held a blessing and officially changed its name.
Taking a look at the other ones. Antihua has B-negative blood.
It was done on behalf of Nanakuli residents who said they wanted to honor the late Prince Jonah
Ronan Ozawa, not a female. Teacher getting cleared from the beginning. Blind Sen only fits one. It was Zhao Mei. So for now, this is Matthew. I'll see you for the additional investigation. Alright folks, we're back. Let's go to Innocence Lost 1-6. This is the first additional investigation here. Matthew, your first case in Yunnan has left us with some unanswered questions. First, May's strange behavior during her arrest and trial prompted the judge to order a psychological report. I want you and Marina to interview the girl again. Leave it with us, Chief. We'll talk to May and find out what went on in her head. Good, but that's not all. You must also get back on the trail of the headhunter. We know he's Warren Goodfellow's link to Sombra. I'm assigning Jonah to help you do some field work, Matthew. I already have a plan, Chief. Matthew and I will go through the Dragon Forest with a fine-tooth comb. If Sombra or Warren have left the smallest trace, we'll find it. I expect swift results, Matthew, as usual. Report back soon.
Alabama point out that inking a single tattoo can temporarily lower your resistance to catching a cold. But again, repeated tattooing may have a similar effect to working out frequently.
Okay, let's see here. What are we gonna get?
An antibody that could get stronger with repeated ink sessions.
Scissors.
Amidst an outcry, Robert De Niro is pulling a documentary from his popular Tribeca Film Festival. The actor and festival co-founder pulled the anti-vaccine documentary that was to screen next month. It's called Vaxxed from Cover-Up to Catastrophe. It purports to examine the long-debated link between vaccine and
tent.
It's written by Andrew Wakefield, who was stripped of his medical license in 2010 for linking autism to childhood vaccines in a now discredited study. De Niro said after careful review, we do not believe it contributes to or furthers the discussion I had hoped for. De Niro has a child with autism. Lines were long today to get an application for the latest Kaka'ako high-rise development. The applications became available. A 43-story tower on Halekawila Street, just across Ward Avenue from Sports Authority. It'll have 40...
Matthew, you're a pro at field work. That tent you spotted could be what we need to get back on Sombra's trail. Alright, let's search it. Let's examine the tent.
I'm really interested in the area near Ward. There's nearby, which is very exciting. And the rail line is going to be coming great.
Warren's button. Matthew, you spot clues better than a sniffer dog. That button you found in the tent looks familiar. You're right, that smiling man on the button is Warren Goodfellow. But Warren Goodfellow is now in jail, which means the button in the tent must have been left here by someone else. Matthew, this could be the clue that finally leads us to the headhunter. Alright, Matthew, you know I'm good with guns, but clumsy with the forensic kit, so I'll let you brush that button for clues.
That's really cool. I know a lot of people waiting for the Easter forecast, so let's get right to it. Tomorrow we're expecting a really nice day, actually. Mostly sunny skies.
Faded button.
Well, we still have those light variable winds. Trade winds aren't coming down quite yet, but I'll let you know when they will.
There we are. Nice job lifting those fingerprints off Warren's button. Now we just need Elliot to check the database for us. Six hours. Now let's question Zhao Mei. Hello, Mei. You must be upset about what happened to Han. Can we talk about him? Han was my friend. I liked him. We often played together in the countryside. Very good, Mei. What happened the last time you and Han played in the rice fields? We were running around, laughing, and then it hit me. The resources are finite, and the weak must die. The weak must die? Mei, it's clear you're still in shock. Let's try a different angle. Tell me about the happy times you had with Han. Sometimes we played in Han's house, too. I remember giving Han a gift. I think it's still in his room. But everything is futile, Ranger Matthew. You will see. There's nothing you can do. Matthew, we have to stop. We can't push Mei too hard, but we've heard quite enough already. Matthew, Mei's behavior shows the same symptoms I've seen with patients suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. Mei's repressing her feelings to cope with some difficult experiences in her past. It's understandable given how some of these children grow up. But you're right, Matthew. Mei mentioned giving something to Han. Perhaps if we find that gift, we'll learn something more about Mei's background. Let's go to Han's house. Honey necklace, scissors, cleaver, glutes, teapot, noodles, chimes. There we are. Soldier figure.
We're getting a northerly flow. That's because winds actually for the next couple of days or into midweek. There's that batch of moisture I was talking about that's churning, and we're seeing some showers.
Matthew, you found a tiny soldier figure? That's a strange gift. But then again, it's from a strange girl. You're right. It looks like something was written on the soldier's shield. Alright, I'll get the forensic kit.
But Tuesday, just a small bump up in showers, and then high pressure will finally start to fill in. We'll see those trade winds returning at the end of the week, Friday into Saturday. So good.
And soldier figure now.
Until we see that return of the trades. Big swell coming in on Tuesday. This is going to bring warning winds, sir. Until then, we've got 5 to 7 feet on the north shore, 3 to 5 on the west. Tomorrow, everywhere though going to be pretty nice with those light winds, especially in the morning hours.
Matthew, that's Sombra's mark on the soldier shield. Hold on, you're right. If this figurine came from May, it means she was in contact with someone from Sombra. Matthew, if May's fallen into the hands of Sombra, it could explain her strange behavior. But how does Han come into the picture? The figurine was given to him. Does that mean he knew about Sombra too? Matthew, you're right. We can't ask Han, but maybe his auntie remembers a crucial detail. Let's talk to her.
Did you say another round of the warning level, sir?
About the Sombra soldier figure? Auntie Hua, do you recognize the symbol on this figurine? Let me see. Well, it's not a Mahjong tile nor anything else I know. Auntie Hua, it was May who gave this soldier figure to Han. Have you heard the children mention the word Sombra? Sombra? I don't remember, but I always thought that girl was strange, Ranger Matthew. What about Han? Did he ever repeat odd phrases to you? About nature? Or the weak dying? We're farmers, Ranger Matthew. Our whole lives revolve around nature and dying. I'm sorry, I can't help more. But I'm grateful to you for finding my boy's killer, Ranger Matthew. Please take this small gift as a sign of my gratitude.
Men's volleyball team lock up a spot in the MPSF playoffs with a win over UC Irvine tonight. Rob DeMello has that next in sports. Plus, have you split the first 2 games of the series?
Alright, I'll let the fingerprints run its course, and for now, this is Matthew. See you then. Alright folks, we're back. Let's get the results of the fingerprints. Matthew, identifying the fingerprints on the Rising Hope button was tricky. I ran it through a whole bunch of databases without finding a single hit. Are you telling us the fingerprints belong to no one? No, I'm telling you that I'm brilliant, because then it occurred to me to cross-check the fingerprints with all the data Matthew logged for the last investigation and compare them with your suspect's prints. Until I finally found a match. Remember that cell phone you found in the forest earlier, Matthew? Guess what? The fingerprints on the button match the fingerprints on that phone. Matthew, the fingerprints belong to Ronan Ozawa. It seems like that dude lives off the grid and likes to cover his tracks. Matthew's right. If Ronan Ozawa knew Warren Goodfellow, we have to talk to him. Let's go. About Warren's button. Your game's up, Ronan. Ranger Matthews found this button among your belongings. Tell us how you know Warren Goodfellow. I met Mr. Goodfellow on the road. It's been a while since I heard from him. It could be because Warren's in jail for murder. We're trying to trace his links to a criminal organization called Sombra. Ranger Matthew, your words shock me. I didn't know Mr. Goodfellow was a criminal. I thought he was an honorable man who works for a charity. You seem to make interesting acquaintances on the road, Ronan. You followed a boy who ended up dead, and now it turns out you knew a convicted killer. The traveler's life is full of strange encounters, Ranger Matthew. I'm sorry I can't help you more. Perhaps you'll accept an invitation for a meal instead, It will restore your strength and your spirit, Ranger Matthew. Well, thank you very much. Matthew, have you made any progress? We've interviewed May again, Chief. She shows symptoms of post-traumatic stress. And more to the point, Matthew found evidence that May was in contact with Sombra. Unfortunately, in her current state, there's no point in questioning May about the details of what Sombra could have done to her. That's an alarming development. My biggest fear is that May isn't the only child who's been affected. Matthew, learning more about Sombra's role in this will remain a priority. What about Warren Goodfellow and the Headhunter? We strongly suspect Warren's contact is Ronan Ozawa. Ronan admits he knows Warren Goodfellow, but he denies any knowledge of Sombra. But this guy is like a ghost. Elliot said he erases his tracks. What do you want to bet he's Sombra, Chief? We don't have time for bets, Jonah. We must be sure. If you think Ronan's Sombra, you must find proof. Go back to the rice fields, and don't come back without results. Lettuce. Broken plastic, kind of looks like a GPS. There we are. Quick work, Matthew. Alright, restore those broken pieces. Let's see what we learned from them. Watch. Matthew, that broken gadget you restored is a GPS tracker. I've seen plenty of them before. See the little pin in the middle? But I'm afraid this tracker isn't in working condition. It's no use giving it to Elliot. You're right. Even if the data's lost, we might still find other clues on the device. Let's send it to the forensics lab. Another 6 hours. Okay, I'll let it run its course. So for now, this is Matthew. See you then. Alright folks, we're back. I'm going to speed up the tracking device. Hi Matthew, it's Lars' turn to watch the kids. So I've had a look at this GPS tracker for you. The tracker was worn as a bracelet, so it was easy to find skin cells on it. Most of them belonged to May. Somebody was tracking May? We already know she fell into Sombra's hands. It wouldn't surprise me if they were keeping track of May's movements. Well, I managed to isolate biological material with a different DNA sequence on the device, too. And it matched the profile of Ronan Ozawa. Matthew, the idea of that man following children makes my skin crawl. Just make sure you stop him, alright? Fear not, Angela. We already suspect Ronan's in cahoots with Sombra. This new evidence might be all Matthew needs to zero in on him. And let's interrogate Ronan Ozawa about following May. Come on, Ronan. We know you're Sombra. Just admit you followed May on Sombra's orders, too. Ranger Matthew, your words confuse me. If it's about the tracker on May, I have a perfectly innocent explanation. May isn't from this village, Ranger Matthew. She disappeared from Sichuan province a few months ago. Social services were worried about her. I agreed to help find May and make sure she wouldn't run away again. Unfortunately, I arrived too late. She had already fallen in with the wrong crowd. First Han, now May. You keep posing as the guardian angel of children, Ronan. How is it then that we keep bumping into you following the trail of Sombra? There is nothing more I can say, Ranger Matthew, and now I must be on my way. Take this money as my small contribution to your work. Matthew, our investigations have yielded alarming results. First, we must learn more about Ronan Ozawa. The fact that we can't arrest him, despite his apparent links to Sombra, leaves me very dissatisfied. Ronan's managed to slip through our fingers this time, but I've instructed Elliot to keep him under surveillance. But we can't make another mistake with him. But your discoveries about May are even more concerning, Matthew. If May's fallen into Sombra's hands somehow, it might not be an isolated incident. We must make sure other children won't fall prey to him. Right now our only clue is that May ran away from Sichuan. We shall all go there and try to pick up Sombra's trail again. Get ready. Okay, case 26 is not open yet. So for now, this is Matthew, and I will see you for case 26. But for the time being, I will go back to doing one case in Elite mode. But I will say it right now, it will be in Grimsboro. And I'll see you guys for that.